I am too old for you. No, you are not. I could be your mother. But you are not. But I am old enough to be your mother. That is not true. No. No. Do you want me to take you back to the hotel? This hormone-filled scene actually involves a 40-year-old single mother and a 24-year-old top boy band star. 40-year-old Solène lost her charm due to aging and was heartlessly abandoned by her ex-husband. But he had something urgent come up, so he asked Solène to accompany their daughter instead. Although Solène was a bit reluctant, to avoid disappointing her daughter's expectations, she eventually agreed to her ex-husband's request. But after arriving at the music festival, her daughter grabbed her friends and happily disappeared into the crowd, leaving Solène standing there all alone. Perhaps it was a generation gap with the young people, or perhaps it didn't interest her. But as soon as she sat down, the woman opposite her started talking to her. Is this your first time? Excuse me, mesmerized by the moon? What? Once a moonie, always a moonie. Although the woman was enthusiastically introducing the legend of Moon Boy Band, Solène didn't hear a single word, because her mind was only on finding a restroom. Do you know where the restroom is? Yes. It's over there. Okay, thank you. Following the woman's directions, Solène arrived outside the lounge.
Welcome to the Shin Music.
But soon Solène saw a woman coming down from a trailer. She mistakenly thought it was the restroom, so Solène walked in without hesitation. Wait, hold on a second. Okay. After a while, the man finally pushed open the restroom door. But when he saw Solène for the first time, he looked as if his soul had been snatched away. Hi. Hi. Can you let me in? Do you want to use the restroom? Yes. Thank you. It's okay. At this moment, Solène was only thinking about using the restroom, completely unaware that she had intruded into someone else's private space. And when she came out of the restroom, she was surprised to see the man still sitting outside the door. Are you part of the ASMR community? Do you get excited listening to others use the restroom? No, I don't. You cannot just... This is actually my trailer. This is your trailer? Yes, I am a member of the band. In an hour, we have to perform on the main stage. I am Hayes Campbell. Hayes Campbell. August Moon? Yes, August Moon. We're calling her rudeness just now. Solène felt so embarrassed she wanted to disappear. Hayes suddenly stood up and called out to her. He even politely invited her to stay for a drink, although Solène was full of surprise. She explained to Hayes that she was not a fan, and that she was only there accompanying her daughter today. Besides, she had to drive back later. So Solène had to politely decline Hayes' invitation. Is your daughter a fan of August Moon? She used to be. Oh, I'm so sorry. Because you guys are two 7th grade. Damn it. The truth is often hurtful, right? But just as the atmosphere between the two began to warm up, and upon hearing this, Hayes started changing clothes right there. But this scene made Solène shyly turn away in a hurry. However, his powerful and muscular physique still made Solène unable to resist stealing a few glances. But this look also made her heartbeat skip a beat instantly. After Hayes finished changing, but Solène took advantage of this gap to quietly leave the trailer. But she never expected that this accidental intrusion would become the beginning of their connection. Afterwards, Solène and her daughter arrived at the autograph session, but with the appearance of the boy band August Moon, only at this moment did Solène truly realize just how popular this boy band was. On the other side, as soon as Hayes sat down at the autograph table, his eyes spotted Solène in the crowd. When their eyes met inadvertently, However, as the autograph line slowly moved, it was soon Solène's turn. But she never expected that Hayes would take the initiative to talk to her again. Hayes actually took the initiative to talk to her again. Do you know? Actually, I still don't know your name. My name is Solène. Solène's daughter's friend saw through Hayes's intentions at a glance and took the opportunity to give out the address of Solène's art gallery. But this casual act became the catalyst for them to meet again shortly after. But just as Hayes was about to continue the conversation, then Solène and her group also followed to the stage area. As the August band performed energetically on stage, the atmosphere in the audience instantly became lively, and Solène soon gradually immersed herself in the rhythm. But just as they were about to sing the next song, the lead singer Hayes suddenly started discussing something with the other band members, and the fans in the audience were full of curiosity. But no one expected that Hayes would announce an extra song not on the set list. I met someone tonight. She gave me some inspiration. I didn't plan on singing this one, but this one is called Closer. I know you're a little older than me, but baby, please put your hand on my shoulder. While the weather hasn't turned cold yet, I want to be closer to you. Closer to you. A 40-year-old single mother suddenly became the star of a top-tier concert. Who could handle such a plot twist? But Solène never dreamed that Hayes confessed her love song. Hayes actually confessed to her, although a flicker of excitement did flash in Solène's heart. Although Solène felt a flicker of excitement, her reason was frantically reminding her that at 40, one shouldn't have romantic fantasies of a 20-year-old. At 40, one shouldn't have romantic fantasies of a 20-year-old. So, facing the ruthlessness of time, Solène had no choice but to bury this heartbeat deep in the bottom of her heart. And after the music festival ended, Solène returned to her original life trajectory. But just as she was busy organizing work documents, a shop assistant came in to tell her someone was looking for her outside. Solène walked out with a hint of confusion, but she never expected that the person looking for her was Hayes. And there was a large group of annoying paparazzi following outside. Hey. Hi. I don't know if you remember me. We met at the Coachella Music Festival. Yes, I remember you. Hayes said he heard his friends mention her shop last time. He happened to need to buy some art to decorate his office, so he came over uninvited. And at this moment, Solène didn't think much of it. She immediately took him to tour the art collection in the shop and told the stories behind every piece. But before Solène could finish introducing the art pieces, Hayes suddenly interrupted her. Great, I'll buy them all. What? Please pack them with bubble wrap or something, and I'll send someone to pick them up later. But seeing Hayes treat the art like buying groceries, Solène could no longer control her anger. She immediately wanted to confront his rude behavior. She immediately wanted to step forward and rebuke his rude behavior. But Hayes earnestly expressed that he truly loved these art pieces, and even felt that buying everything here wasn't enough. Well, if you don't have any other art for me to see, then I'll have to find another art shop. I have a friend, she is an artist I really like. She has a warehouse in Glendale. She's not there right now, but I happen to have the key. I've been wanting to go to Glendale for a long time. So Solène drove to the friend's warehouse. And to avoid being photographed and followed by paparazzi, Hayes specifically reclined his seat. After dodging the annoying paparazzi, the two soon arrived at a friend's warehouse. But after skipping over a few ordinary collectibles, Solène led Hayes to a painting. It was a personal favorite she kept deep in her heart, and one she was only willing to share with someone who understood. What is it called? Unveil me. How do you feel when you look at it? A mix of many feelings. Once the conversation started, it couldn't be stopped. In the end, the two opened up their hearts completely. They talked about their mundane daily lives, and the distant dreams they each kept hidden in their hearts. And every shared experience deepened their understanding of each other. But it was in this perfect atmosphere that Hayes finally gathered the courage to take the opportunity to reveal his feelings to Solène. I rarely meet people like you. Most people think they know me well, but you seem completely indifferent to who I am. And I remind you, the circumstances of our meeting were very interesting. I think you are very smart and, you know, you are also very sexy or something. Sexy or something else. I think I am here right now just to get to know you better. Solène had originally thought that Hayes' singing confession last time was just a whim of the moment. But now she could clearly feel that genuine sincerity in Hayes' deep gaze. This made Solène's heart race uncontrollably. Even on the way back to the city, her eyes kept uncontrollably drifting toward Hayes. They had originally planned to have lunch at a restaurant together, but Hayes' fame was simply too high, and they would encounter fans blocking and harassing them even on the road. To avoid these unnecessary troubles, Solène made a suggestion. How about this? Let's go to my place, I'll make you a sandwich. That's a good idea. However, as soon as they walked through the door, even when Solène was busy in the kitchen, Hayes would actively come over to keep her company. Despite the significant age gap between them, they seemed to have endless topics to talk about. Even if it was just a simple sandwich, Hayes ate it with great satisfaction. But it was at this moment that Hayes noticed the photo on the wall and casually asked about Solène's past relationship. This made Solène freeze for a moment. Those deeply buried pains instantly surged back into her heart. Everyone makes mistakes, I don't mind. I forgave him. And then he said he fell in love with her. And then he very quietly left. Maybe not everyone is like Daniel. I will think carefully about what you said, Hayes Campbell. Their conversation extended from their careers to trivial family matters, and finally returned naturally to the theme of love. At this moment, the air seemed to be filled with a romantic atmosphere. They gazed at each other affectionately for a few seconds, but before they could make any further moves, taking advantage of Solène going to answer the phone, Hayes walked to the piano behind him and began to play the melodious and moving melody. And every pleasant note precisely touched Solène's heartstrings. But just as Solène walked over, moved, Hayes slowly stopped playing. He gently took Solène's hand, and their emotions surged like a tide at this moment. Finally, Solène couldn't help but kiss Hayes. It's just a pity that this kiss didn't last long, and Solène quickly sobered up from the passion. I could be your mother, but you're not my mother, but I'm old enough to be your mother. No. No. Do you want me to take you back to the hotel? But no matter how Hayes expressed his love, their age would always be an insurmountable gap. So she had to harden her heart to cut her losses in time. She even ordered Hayes to leave. But Hayes didn't intend to give up easily. He took advantage of the moment Solène turned around, quietly took off his watch and placed it on the table, and then slowly said goodbye to Solène and left. Coincidentally, just as Hayes' figure disappeared outside the door, her daughter followed and returned home from the other side. Solène was so frightened that she quickly smoothed her messy hair. And her daughter noticed her mother's abnormality at a glance. Are you okay? I'm fine. Are you high? No. But when she went to the side to calm her mind, she discovered the watch Hayes had left on the table. And this seemingly ordinary watch would completely rewrite Solène's life in the future. Looking at her daughter's vibrant appearance, Solène felt as if she had returned to her youth in a trance. After dropping her daughter off at summer camp, Solène returned to the empty house alone. But just as she was enjoying this rare peace, at first Solène thought someone had sent it to the wrong number. But then the sender revealed their mysterious identity. In the message, he poured out his endless longing for Solène and expressed his wish to see her again, and thoughtfully attached the address in New York. This moment, cracks appeared in Solène's frozen heart, and before going to sleep, she couldn't help but open her computer and look through past performance videos of the Hayes band. Watching the boy dancing passionately on the screen, a long-lost feeling of excitement stirred in the depths of Solène's heart. When she picked up the watch again, the passion between them resurfaced in her mind. After a brief moment of hesitation, Solène made up her mind. She would bravely pursue her own happiness. So, using the excuse of returning the watch, she decisively boarded a flight to New York. Although Solène's original intention was just to return the watch, she dressed herself exceptionally elegantly and appropriately, as if going to a long-awaited romantic date. Upon arriving at the hotel, Solène's generous and confident charm even caught the eyes of Hayes's bodyguards, who couldn't look away. Hi. Hi. How was the flight? It was fine. No trouble. A new dress? I brought your watch. I think it looks better on you. So on this night filled with the warm atmosphere, the two spent a beautiful and cozy time together. The next morning, Solène woke up slowly to Hayes's gentle singing. But just as she wanted to relive the sweetness of last night, Hayes said he was going to start a tour, and he really hoped Solène could go with him. You know I can't do that. Why not? My daughter, she's at summer camp all summer. And the art gallery I have to. Didn't I buy all the art? So I want to say. Facing the many excuses Solène made, Hayes remained patient and answered them one by one. But in the end, Solène confessed her concerns. Will people talk about us? I don't care what people say. Looking at the determination in Hayes's eyes, Solène also made up her mind to cast aside all her worries, and bravely followed him on his world tour. And Hayes introduced Solène to every member of the team as an art consultant. In the days that followed, they were always traveling between different cities. Every time they performed in a city, Solène would quietly stay backstage and silently watch the radiant Hayes. And Hayes would also weave his love for Solène quietly into his lyrics. The two of them enjoyed their leisure time like this, while traveling to one global tour after another. Whenever they were free after a performance, they would ignore the eyes of others and walk hand in hand through the city streets. And on a drizzly night, the two would act like any ordinary couple, laughing and running in the rain to their heart's content. During this time, every inadvertent move Solène made would always quietly tug at Hayes's heartstrings. But during a casual date, their intimate moments were secretly captured by the paparazzi. The next day, Solène was on the phone with her daughter. But then Hayes suddenly came over and said a few words. Upon hearing a man's voice, her daughter asked about it. Solène had to lie and say it was one of her male clients, as she wasn't prepared enough yet to reveal this new relationship to her daughter. I haven't told her yet that you're traveling the world with a 24-year-old pop star. Are you embarrassed? It's okay, I know that feeling. It's okay. Hayes understood her concerns. He then took Solène to a villa by the sea, intending to enjoy this rare vacation time. But when she saw the girls by the pool, the passage of time had ultimately left its mark on her. In the end, Solène chose to appear in a relatively conservative outfit. But this outfit, which was so out of place with the surroundings, made her stand out even more. Even during their conversation, she gradually became the target of the girls' collective mockery. Their words were full of sarcasm about Solène robbing the cradle. However, faced with this harassment, both Hayes and Solène appeared completely unbothered. The unexpected truth was completely revealed at that moment. We met at Coachella. We met on my trailer. Then Hayes upped the ante and sang a song for me. Closer? Yes. I knew it was that one. Whenever we meet a girl we like, we sing that song. We pretend to change the set list on the fly. It's a trick we use. It's a trick, right? Upon learning the truth, Solène's smile vanished instantly. But the cruel reality was that this was just a common pickup tactic used by their band. Solène felt an unprecedented sense of insult and hurt. So she silently got up from Hayes' arms and walked back to the room without saying a word. Why are you doing this? Doing what? Hayes immediately followed her into the room. He frankly admitted that the song was prepared in advance. But from the moment he sought out Solène to buy art, he had already fallen hopelessly in love with her. But no matter how desperately Hayes tried to explain or make amends, Solène was unwilling to believe any of his sweet talk again. Great, your Playboy act really hooked me. I'm 40 years old and I still don't understand the situation. Will you listen to my explanation? That action was stupid, but I only did it to please you. My ex-husband lied to me for a whole year. And all his friends knew, only I was kept in the dark. That was the biggest blow to me. Just like the blow in the swimming pool just now. I am not your ex-husband, but the damage has been done. The pain of the previous relationship struck Solène, making her subconsciously raise all her psychological defenses whenever she faced any form of deception. But at this moment, Hayes said with tears in his eyes, God, do you know what the craziest thing is? Seems like you never gave us a chance. Does anyone in your life know about me and you? Does your daughter know? And your friends? I will tell them. So you are ashamed of me? Is that it? Indeed. Feel ashamed. A sense of despair instantly swept over Hayes' heart. Since things had come to this, there was indeed no room for reconciliation. Finally, Solène put the watch back on the table. This also meant the end of their relationship. Although on the flight back, Solène still felt sad and reluctant in her heart. But she could never convince herself to accept a relationship that started with deception. When Solène returned home with a weary body, she found a strange package on the floor. She first opened the envelope on the package and saw that it was sent by someone through her best friend. Then Solène carefully unwrapped the package and found that it was the painting she had long admired. She vaguely remembered mentioning it to Hayes once, but she didn't expect him to have quietly bought this painting, and even asked her best friend to secretly deliver it to her home in advance. Looking at the beloved painting in front of her, Solène felt a mix of emotions. She was deeply moved by Hayes' thoughtfulness and effort, but at the same time she kept reminding herself not to repeat the mistakes of her failed marriage in the past. Early the next morning, Solène was woken up by a text message notification. She clicked on it and found it was from Hayes, and the content was warning her to stay away from the internet. This vague message left Solène full of confusion, but driven by curiosity, she still couldn't help but open her computer and searched for entries about Hayes. Hayes is being preyed upon by a younger woman. From this day on, Solène's life was completely disrupted. Her friends kept asking her about the situation. Even when picking up her daughter from summer camp, there were always strangers suddenly coming up to shake her hand and praising Solène as their idol. Some even asked for a photo with her. This sudden excessive attention made Solène feel extremely uncomfortable. But after she picked up her daughter bombarded her with a series of questions. And Solène spoke of her relationship with Hayes. At first, the daughter was angry because her mother had kept it from her. But when she thought about her mother suffering from criticism and attacks, she felt especially heartbroken. Until Solène had already broken up with Hayes. Do you like him? Yes. Is he a feminist? That matters. He is a man after all, yes. But yes, he is a feminist. Mom, why would you break up with the man who is talented and supports feminism? The daughter's heartwarming persuasion also stirred ripples in Solène's heart. Meanwhile, Hayes had also finished his tour and returned to Los Angeles. He was originally focused on recording a new song, but a beautiful figure suddenly appeared before his eyes. Hayes quickly asked the others to step aside for a moment, giving Solène space for a private conversation. Hi. Hi. Are you okay? I'm sorry. I was scared at the time. Actually, those feelings you mentioned, I felt them all too. So, maybe we don't have to end it between us. It's okay, it's fine now. The two of them made up their minds to ignore all the prejudices of the outside world together. The next morning, jogging, and even strolled through the streets leisurely, and facing the reports about their relationship on the internet, they simply uninstalled all social media apps. The two firmly believed that as long as they waited for the hype to gradually fade, the public would slowly stop paying attention to their relationship. By then, they could return to an ordinary couple's life. But they hadn't had peaceful days for long before Solène's ex-husband came to the door in a rage. It turned out he had divorced his current wife again. When he learned that Solène had found a young, handsome man again, an inexplicable resentment rose in his heart. What exactly do you want, brother? Brother? I didn't even know we had become brothers. I don't know what you want me to say to you, buddy. You're still going to act crazy with my wife like this. But just as Hayes was about to retort, Solène heard the commotion and came out. And the ex-husband still solemnly reminded Solène, hoping she wouldn't lose her sense of decency. I am not your wife now. I was only your wife once. And you lied, cheated, and then left me. Solène responded firmly, just doing things that others dare not try. And the outside criticism has nothing to do with her. These words left the ex-husband speechless. He had no choice but to turn and leave, feeling unwilling. But besides the entanglement from the ex-husband, the media stalking seriously affected Solène's life. Even the art shop she managed had to close down due to continuous harassment. And the public opinion storm grew more and more intense, even affecting her daughter's learning environment. Classmates began to look at her with strange eyes, and would point fingers behind her daughter's back. But despite this, she never complained to Solène, because she respected her mother's choices. It's just that some recent situations made her have to hide for a while. I'm sorry. No need to apologize, I am very sorry. Can you take me to Dad's place? I really can't deal with the reporters at home. Out of protection for her daughter, Solène had to send her to her ex-husband's house to avoid the spotlight. But just as Solène returned home, she was instantly surrounded by a group of gossip reporters. Although she chose to ignore them the whole time, this unprecedented pressure of public opinion still made her feel incredibly heavy. Finally, Solène couldn't help but open her computer and search for terms related to herself and Hayes. The results showed that the public interest was increasing rather than decreasing, and the content was full of insults directed at her, accusations and various verbal attacks. Act like a mother. Your daughter must hate you. Are you a pervert who likes to stalk prey? Your daughter is very sexy, why isn't Hayes with her? If you were my mother, I would crawl into a hole. The knives of public opinion left Solène unable to breathe. She couldn't help but start to doubt. Perhaps she shouldn't have gotten together with Hayes from the start. And she didn't want her daughter to be dragged into this storm of public opinion. So after careful consideration, Solène finally decided to return the watch to Hayes. Why give the watch to me? Why aren't you starting the car yet? I can't keep going. It's because of Izzy. The impact this has had on her is too great. So great. It's unimaginable. Being dragged into this was not something she asked for, but the impact on her is too great. I must put her first. Hayes could understand Solène's worries. He was also desperately thinking of a solution. Hayes suggested that he could quit the band, give up all the idol glory. But Solène felt, "Please don't do this to me, Solène, I beg you. Please go. Are you not planning to fight for me for our future?" Solène did not reply to any of his words, and Hayes did not want to put her in a difficult position. So he did not continue to pester her. Instead, he left the car with a heart full of helplessness. And in the days without Hayes, Solène would often toss and turn in the middle of the night. But when she was immersed in sadness that night, she suddenly received a text message from Hayes. "Open the door." I love you, Solène. I love you too.
Welcome to the Shin Music channel.
At this very moment, both of their hearts were filled with reluctance and helplessness. And this long-suppressed emotion finally condensed into a deep kiss containing 1,000 words. After they both calmed their emotions, Hayes slowly explained his intentions. He wanted to beg Solène to give him 5 years, because 5 years would be enough for his fame to completely fade away, and for him to become a third-rate singer that no one cares about. By then, no one would pay attention to their lives anymore. And by that time, Solène's daughter would have graduated from college. She would start her own chapter in life, and would no longer need Solène to worry about her excessively. But 5 years is too long. If you have a chance to find happiness, seize it. I will too, okay? During this parting,
Welcome to the Shin
Hayes
Music
placed the
channel.
watch on the table once again. But unlike before, this time they both had a shared promise in their hearts. 5 years passed in a flash, and those reports on the internet had long since disappeared. Solène and her daughter gradually returned to their former peace. Everything seemed to have returned to how it was at the beginning. But in these 5 years, Hayes had never contacted Solène, nor had he given any explanation. Countless times, Solène would touch the watch and wonder, maybe this. She also understood that 5 years was enough for everything to change. Perhaps Hayes had long let go of the past and started his new life. Although she understood these truths, she still found it difficult to completely erase Hayes from her memory. Solène would still watch every one of Hayes' performances and watch every one of his interviews carefully. And every time, Solène would be in tears. Hayes replied that he was planning to go to Los Angeles to take a break. Los Angeles? Is there any special reason for choosing Los Angeles? Because there is someone I want to see there. So this 5-year wait, Hayes had never forgotten. Since that night, every time Solène returned to her shop, she would look forward to that familiar figure suddenly appearing. Until this day, Solène, who was focused on her work, suddenly looked solemn. A mysterious force pulled her toward the exhibition hall. And the next second, she actually saw the person she had been thinking about day and night. The long wait finally led to their reunion. When their eyes met in the air, the love hidden in the bottom of their hearts instantly filled their hearts. From this moment on, no matter what obstacles they face in the future, nothing will ever be able to separate them again. Love has never been about age, nor is it about fame. It is only about whether two hearts are truly running toward each other. Solène was once trapped by the pain of marriage, but Hayes was willing to take off his top-tier halo to wait. They fought against public opinion and insults, and endured 5 years of separation. In the end, they proved to us with their persistence that prejudice will eventually fade, and waiting will eventually have an echo. The true beauty in life is never about living up to others' expectations, but about having the courage to break through worldly shackles and run toward the passion in your heart. May we all be able to break free from the cage of prejudice, and in this complex world, be brave enough to embrace that undefined, pure and fiery love.